Well, it's finally here. The 100 Horror Films in 31 Days Challenge. I did this last year, and I'm looking forward to cranking out another 100 films this year. It's a big task, but I enjoy doing it. Again, if you're interested in this, go to the DVD Talk forums, and you can look into it and participate. It's a lot of fun, just commiserating with other people that are doing the challenge, making videos and watching horror movies. It's that simple. Productivity is going to grind to a screeching halt for the rest of October. I thought I would do something a little bit different for the first day and record kind of a real-time what I'm watching sort of video. I don't plan to do a marathon. My typical day will try to be to get 3, maybe 4 movies a day in. But so today, Saturday night, we're going to start off with some Criterions. Technically, the challenge starts at night on the 30th and goes till November 1st, the morning of November 1st. So you do have a few extra hours in between October 1st and October 31st to squeeze a few more in. And the theme on the 30th of September was Criterion. So today is Criterion Day, and I've picked out, we're going to kick this puppy off with The Blob. Umbrella release of The Blob. This actually has all 3 Blob films. It's got the original 1950s with Steve McQueen, the 88 reboot, remake, and then Son of Blob. This is a great Umbrella release, so I thought we'd kick it off with that. And I got my tea here. So let's get into this. Let's see what's going on. Looks like the Umbrella logo. Go ahead and play it. Somebody's been fucking with the sound again.
Hey, Mr. Winnemeyer.
There he is. The devil himself, Steve
Hey,
McQueen.
Mr. Winnemeyer, where are you?
Let me
I'm gonna
see.
turn on the light.
See what the special. So we got 2 audio commentaries and a theatrical trailer.
Hey, what is it?
I don't know.
All right,
Oh.
let's get on with this. Got a lot to watch and little time to do it. Let's get on with it. This Criterion menu, I have to give them their tropes. They've kept that from day one. Same, very consistent. I'm gonna have to kick on some subtitles. I've gotten to where I just can't watch a film without the subtitles. Whoa! Listen to that guitar. Dig that jazz beat. Tony Lynn Productions. Never heard of it. Alright guys, I will return at the end of the film and give you my thoughts. You need a shotgun, old man. Be traipsing out in the woods like that without a shotgun. Actually, the colors for the 1950s, this looks really good for a color film from 1950. A little out of focus there. Looks good though. shit. Now you just know he's got to go and fuck with that. Can't leave well enough alone. Oh shit. Of course he's gonna stick to I knew he was, yeah. Pretty cool special effects. It's like candied toffee or something. Oh, that sucks. That sucks.
Kitty car going backwards. To the light.
Check out these cars. They're pretty awesome.
You say when. Okay. When?
Really, a cop just happened to be there. That girl ended up on Andy Griffith's show. She was Andy's girlfriend. I mean, you could tell even then Steve McQueen had something, charisma. I mean, he just had it. You could just see it right there. Yeah, this cop's gonna give him a bunch of shit. All right, I'll be back in a minute.
Doctor, where is he?
What do you mean?
It's like a beach ball.
Don't move. Must have absorbed the old man completely. I don't know what this is, but it's got to be killed before it gets any bigger.
You think?
Doctor, I'm
Try to
afraid.
stay as far away from it as you can. Kate, be calm. Now do as I say.
This guy's a real rocket
Behind you.
scientist.
The trichloroacetic acid. Throw it.
Throw it?
Yes. For heaven's sake, don't get any of it on your hands.
Now they don't know what this is, but they're just gonna try shit out and throw it on it.
Doctor, nothing will stop it.
A gun in my den. I've got to go for it, Kate. Now try to stay absolutely still.
Don't go, don't leave me.
I'll be
All
right
right,
back.
be back in a minute.
I'll explain outside. This is important.
Of course, this is the most iconic scene of The Blob. This is the scene everybody remembers.
He's got to come with us. There's nobody else we can go to.
Okay, you kids knock it off. Come on.
What? Walk out of the movie?
Let's cut out.
And it only took
Good, not me. I'm part of this chair and I
almost an hour to get here. So I forgot how talky this movie is. A lot of exposition. The vampire and the robot.
Hey, all right, Steve. You made us waste our 80 cents. Now, what gives? Yeah, what's the
80 cents.
Would you believe me if I told you there was something inside of that rock we found tonight?
No.
Something that could wipe out this whole town?
Nope.
Hey, knock it off! Go ahead, Steve.
I saw this thing kill Dr. Hallen tonight.
Come on.
That's right.
Well, what is it?
I don't know. But one thing's for sure. If you can kill Dr. Hallen, you can kill somebody else.
What do you want us to do, Steve?
All right. We're gonna find this thing. We're gonna make people believe us.
Let's try Johnsonville again, Richie.
Okay.
Saw a strange one?
What do you mean?
Oh,
On my way back here, I ran into Mr. Connors coming out of that bar in the building he owns over on 2nd Street. He just stopped in it and there was nobody there.
Hey, Mr. Winnemeyer.
Okay, that was it. That was 1958's The Blob with Steve McQueen. And I think it does not hold up well. I think it was part of it's obvious it was made when there was teenagers and monsters on the loose, the 50s craze. It's kind of funny, Steve McQueen got paid like $3,000 for this movie, but he was offered like 10% of the profits, and he declined that because he needed the money to pay the rent. The movie made $4 million on a $100,000 budget, so it made a tremendous amount of money. But it is a very talky movie. I say it's an hour and 20 minutes, and really not a whole lot happens in the first 48 minutes. It's just a lot of exposition and talking, but it's still, for its day, I think it was good, and the special effects when they happen are good. So yeah, it's a fun movie. You have to be in the mood for it. All right, well, I will return shortly with the next movie I'm going to watch. I think I'm going to do Cronos. All right, well, next up is the Phantom Carriage. 1927 Swedish silent film. Never seen it, and definitely looking forward to checking this out. So let's kick it in here. Let's see what we got. Guess it'd help if I had the thing in there right. Go Criterion. Never changes their intros. Svensk Film Industries. Okay, well, I'll be back at the end of the film and I'll tell you my thoughts. Thanks. Death has come too soon. I mean, they did a really good job of double exposure of the two images like that. That's, for 1927, that's pretty amazing. Very cool. Alright, well, that's the Phantom Carriage. 1921, not 1927. Fascinating movie, very complex. Basically, the story is the last person to die, New Year's Eve, becomes the Reaper and collects the souls the following year. But it's a lot more than that. It's a morality tale. It's a tale of redemption, love. It's a love story and a ghost story. A lot going on in this one, and for something in 1921, it's well, I mean, it's clearly a masterpiece. Highly recommended. So that is the Phantom Carriage. I think what I'm going to do now is watch Kronos, the Guillermo del Toro movie. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kick that on, and I'll be back later. All right, guys. Let me finish up the day one viewings here. Hope you enjoyed those little excerpts from the film itself. Thought I'd try something different. I don't plan to do that every day. In fact, I watched 3 or 4 other films that I'm going to talk about now without doing that. But if you like it, let me know. I may do it some more during the month. All right, so the next film I watched after The Phantom Carriage was 2008's The Strangers, which I'd never seen. This is a much hyped about film. Never saw it. Brian Bartino's claim to fame as director. It's a home invasion film, and stars Liv Taylor, who I thought was very good, and Scott Speedman. I don't know much about him, but I thought they did a very good job. You know, this is another film where I think the build up's better than the payoff, and that's unfortunate. I thought I really liked. It's basically a home invasion film that's kind of spread out over 75, 80 minutes, and in this one you've got very much analogous to Your Next and a host of other home invasion films. The ending, I'm not going to say what happens, but the ending was, to me, unsatisfying. I just expected more from it, and so I give it a 6 out of 10. I just didn't buy into the hype and the jump. It's a lot of jump scares, a lot of false scares, and then a very unsatisfying climax. I just didn't think much of it. So, and I watched that on, I had recorded it, DVR'd it from, I think, Showtime or Cinemax. Yeah. So next up is an improvement in watching. I watched the reboot. I call it the reboot of the Blob, 1988, which is directed by Chuck Russell, the same guy that did Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, which I think that's a great movie. The Blob 1988 is, to me, a far superior film to the Steve McQueen 1950s film, both in terms of plot, pacing, and definitely special effects, although I don't think that's a fair comparison. The 58 movie was just so talky and so static. This film was fantastic, and the deaths are really, I mean, it's the Blob, but at Monster Movie, you don't expect grisly, mean-spirited deaths. There are some mean-spirited, grisly deaths in the Blob 1988. Loved it. Loved it. Give it 8 out of 10. I thought that Chuck Russell did a great job directing it, and Kevin Dillon, who I think is Matt Dillon, related to Matt Dillon. Kevin Dillon was great at it. He's kind of the lead guy. I love 1988's The Blob. I haven't seen the Larry Hagman directed Son of Blob or Beware of Blob. I'm going to watch that, I think, on day 2, and I'll give you some feedback on it. It's on this Umbrella release has all 3 films, so I'll definitely check out Son of Blob here shortly. All right, now next up is a Guillermo del Toro film which I had never seen. It was a Criterion, and that is Kronos, which is 1993. It's his first directorial film, and it was evident. It's evident from this very first film, stylistically, what you're going to get with Del Toro. Very beautifully shot. And to me, it's supposed to be a horror film, but I think it's more of a fantasy. Essentially, what you've got is this ancient device that provides eternal life, 400 years old, is discovered by
this shopkeeper. And there's a downside to eternal life, which is essentially that you have to quench your thirst with human blood to remain youthful and vigorous. So it's kind of to me, it's kind of a take on the Elizabeth Bathory, Count Bathory type story than it is a straight up vampire movie. And I really think it's more of a fantasy film than a horror film. It's as much about family and the dynamics between parents and grandparents and children than it is a horror movie. But it's a very good movie, intelligent movie, well shot. I thought it was really good. And Ron Perlman, who seems to be Del Toro's consistent dynamic through all his films, is in this one as well. He speaks in English where everyone else speaks in Spanish, and apparently, in researching it, Del Toro tried to get Perlman to say the lines in Spanish, but it was so bad that he just gave up and said, "We'll just change your character to an American immigrant or something, so to explain the fact you're speaking English." But yeah, it's a very good movie. I haven't checked out the special features yet and the audio commentary, but I plan to do that. There's a nice booklet. Criterion always does a fantastic job with these releases. So yeah, that's Kronos, and I think that's a 8 out of 10. And then finally, rounding out day one, which, by the way, as you could tell from the earlier videos, day one was started at basically when the sun went down Saturday night on the 30th. That's when it started. So some of the stuff I shot early on was from that period. But I finished the day with Tobe Hooper's tribute, and that is TCM2. This is the Scream Factory release, which I don't know that I need to show it. I mean, I think everybody and his brother probably has this release, TCM2. If you don't, you need to get it because it's jam-packed. 90-minute documentary, multiple audio commentaries, etc., etc. I saw this in the theater with my mom, of all things. I'll never forget. And it was, it's a very gory film, unlike the first film. And I think for many audiences, particularly older audiences that don't like horror films in general, like my mom, I think what ended up happening was she was disgusted by it, which I can understand it. The black humor of all the proceedings escaped her, and I can see why. But at the time, I was probably 20, 22 maybe. I'm not sure that the humor resonated with me either. I mean, I went into expecting to see something like TCM1. So, and I think a lot of people at that time were like, what the hell? I mean, he's making a joke of Leatherface. Now I think it's a classic. I think it's a brilliant film. But back then it was like, what do we make of this? The dark humor, the black humor is just rampant through this film, and I think the guy that's basically the older brother, the cook, just did a fantastic. I think he made the movie along with Dennis Hopper. I mean, I think without Dennis Hopper and without the cook, I think you just don't have a movie here. Certainly not a successful one. There's so many iconic moments in this, but one of the things I noticed in the mandatory dinner scene where they're gonna hammer Carolyn Williams, if you look at the table closely, you'll see all these fresh vegetables, and there's a little pot with green onions in it. It's like in the midst of all this cannibal meat, you got fresh vegetable and bread and things. It's just hilarious. There's just all kinds of little details. I think they're hilarious, and And there's so many one-liners in this. It's such a classic film, such a classic dark comedy, maybe one of the best. It's certainly one of the top 10 horror black comedies of all time, and definitely probably top 5 if you really think about it. It's really hard to beat TCM2. So that'll wrap up a pretty exhaustive first 36 hours, including a portion of the 30th day one viewing. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and there'll be more to come. I'll definitely try to post a video every day on what I watch. It may not be as lengthy as this, but I will definitely post and let you know what I watched and talk briefly about it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Appreciate it. Thanks.